part of which have informed the basis for the summary document that you have before you today. We've also benefited from the rich discussions and contribution by the speakers here today, as well as in the side events that we've held in the lead up to today's event with member states, with religious leaders, and especially one with the Jacob Lownstein Institute dedicated to the legacy of Raphael Lemkin. We hope these discussions, as well as the summary paper you have before you, will provide a starting point for taking this discussion forward, for reflecting on how we can strengthen genocide prevention at the national, regional, and international levels, as well as across the United Nations system, and more importantly, how we can turn these recommendations into concrete action. We owe this to the victims of genocide, and we owe this to the communities who remain at risk today. Genocide is preventable, but it requires all of us to take the necessary action. So I do look forward to continuing to work with all of you to make sure that we make the convention and its promise a reality, a living force for those who most need it. I would like to end by thanking our team, the team from the Office of the Special Advisor for Prevention of Genocide. We are a very small team, and as I always say, that we really punch way above our weight. It's incredible to imagine that we have a global mandate, and over and above all the analysis we have to do and the fact-finding missions, that we are able to put together an event like this without consultants. And so very grateful to you, Maria, to Sering, to Dalila, who spent virtually the whole year in the archives of the UN looking for information on how this convention came into being. Thank you, Dalila. Then we have Flavia, who was putting together the expert meetings, and also who has a very keen legal eye for everything that comes our way. I know Yena is somewhere. Yena Yo, she's somewhere. And then we have Carolina as well, and then we have Simona, who is head of programs, team leader programs. And then, of course, sitting right behind me is a person many of you know, who is Mario Builmese, the Chief of Office. So thank you so much to you for everything that you've done. There is so much that, of course, we have to keep doing to prevent genocide. Thank you to this wonderful panel of friends, very close friends, people that we can speak to about prevention of genocide on a daily basis. And there's so much that's ahead for all of us to do. And of course, the promise that we make to you is that we will continue doing the utmost of, in terms of prevention of genocide. And thank you to the member states who continuously continue to support us. So very grateful to all of you for taking your time to be here with us today, and very grateful to all of you for marking this extremely important day, because your mere presence here makes this what Raphael Lemkin had hoped it would be in terms of living force in world society. Thank you very much, and goodbye.
Everywhere you turn in this hospital, you see children and the wounds of war, children and the impact of this war. On this stretcher is 10-year-old Suhail. He's got burns to 50% of his body. His legs are badly injured. This little boy just looks broken, like his body's been broken but badly put back together. The bomb that struck Suhail's family home in Gaza killed his dad and it killed his brother. His uncle brought him to the hospital. He says Suhail is just so lovable, so reliable. Right now, Suhail just looks in shock. He's got these gentle blue eyes and they just stare into nowhere. In fact, doctors worry Suhail has lost his sight. Right now, his world is truly dark. This is a war on children.
She's Mara, survived since 10 days, have lung contusion injury and leg fracture. She was on mechanical ventilator. Since 3 days, she is extubated. but now she's breathing on room air. I hope to be more better. This is the worst time now because we haven't any bed, and we have a crowded in ICU, full bed, an emergency room, full bed, and we have an IDBs in emergency room. The OR also working 24 hours continuously. We sometimes we work like 24 hour and off 24 hour and another. We need more of medical supplies like things like to deal with the bleedings, to deal with burn, to deal with fix like wires and bends. We need a lot of things for abdominal gauze, a lot of things for infection control, a lot of experts also to support us in managing of these cases. Auto mask for all child now facing something like PTSD and need psychological support. So the team here and the staff start to psychological support this young lady, young child, and use some eating therapy, some like toys for this child. She want to put an auto mask for this toy, and I think she hope to be a doctor in the future to treat another victims like others, treat them.
Today, those in power decided that the killing of children in Gaza would recommence. Of Gaza, I was then going to speak to the dire situation in health, in nutrition, in water, in sanitation, and how it threatens a disaster of unparalleled magnitude for children of Gaza, such as the enormity of need that, and because of the blocks on aid for so long here, and despite huge efforts this last week from WHO, UNRWA, the biggest agency, from UNICEF, all of the United Nations, the health, the nutrition, sanitation situation, it has been worsening by the day. Now, I was going to end by saying that a lasting ceasefire must be implemented. The alternative is unthinkable for people who are, as a Palestinian said to me, already living in a nightmare. Inaction, at its core, is an approval of the killing of children. But here we are. The bomb started just a few seconds after the ceasefire. Immediately, I went to Nasser Hospital. That's why I have this on. Of course, the children and women at Nasser Hospital do not have these. As we approached Nasser Hospital, there'd been a hit, a missile, a rocket, something. I'm not a military person, around 50 meters away. Important to note that Nasser is the largest functioning hospital in Gaza. Okay, now it's at around 200% capacity. Rob from WHO will give you, granular and expertise in just a moment. But it's full. Children with the wounds of war are everywhere. Children with the wounds of war are still in corridors. Hundreds of women and children take refuge there. You walk out of ICU, there are families of 5 on a mattress for 2. This is the place they seek refuge from the cold. As we've learned from Shifa, nowhere is safe from the attacks. Now, I'd been going to Nasser Hospital all week. I would go to see children, to see the brave and tireless Palestinian health workers, to talk to them, to listen to them. Part of what I would do is just play with children, to try and get that moment to see if I could ever so gently see a glimpse of childhood return. And it had started to happen. Fear most certainly now has returned. So have the wounded. As I was there, ambulances came, people ran with bloodied bodies on stretchers. It is reckless to think more attacks on the people of Gaza will lead to anything other than carnage. There were 4 blasts nearby the hospital, very close, whilst I was there. There have been many more in the last 30 minutes. I finished by almost an appeal. It's what we've all been doing. Aid is an appeal, and then hoping in the corridors of power, those who have influence. Surely any conversation around Gaza, around the children of Gaza, has to begin with empathy, with compassion. It's deeply, deeply unsettling to hear how some have been able to overlook the tragic deaths of thousands and thousands of boys and girls in Gaza, and are now seemingly comfortable with the horrors, the attacks starting again. To accept the sacrifice of the children in Gaza is humanity giving up. This is our last chance. This is our last chance before we delve into yet again explaining why another entirely avoidable tragedy was not stopped, whilst no one sought to stop what is a war on children. Thank you.
I want to bring in James Elder. He's UNICEF's global spokesperson. He's joining us from Gaza. Just talk us through what you've seen in the hours since the ceasefire ended, James.
Fear, Rob, absolute fear. Nasser Hospital and its children I've been seeing all week, and now you can just see that trauma has returned. So I've seen stretchers coming through, ambulances coming as we drove here 100 metres away maximum from Nasser Hospital, now the biggest remaining hospital for the people of Gaza here. There was a hit, so I'm seeing ambulances and stretchers coming through. Hospital staff, obviously, who've already been working 24/7 and now running this hospital, despite the immense efforts, Rob, of the brave, courageous health staff, cannot take another assault. The people cannot take another assault. There's thousands of people sleeping here, beyond the fact that it's a 200% capacity for the children and injured who need that medical care.
James, we did have the ceasefire last for about several days. Did that give any of the hospitals and any of the medical crews in Gaza an opportunity to re-establish themselves, to rebuild their supplies? We, of course, know that there have been limited supplies that have been getting into Gaza.
It did, Rob. Yes, I've been on 2 convoys to the north, 2 UNICEF convoys to Gaza City and then to the farthest north, Jabalia, and that was water, food, medicine across the United Nations. UNRWA getting fuel everywhere for those water pumps, UNICEF, medicines, World Food Programme. It's been a huge response from the United Nations, but it's a start. We always knew it was only a start. Aid had been denied and restricted to these people for such a long time. The north had not seen aid at this scale for 4 weeks. So the level of desperation you see in people, the need was so immense. So we know it's the right type of aid, Rob, but we also knew it was not possibly enough. One of the many reasons why we keep calling for a ceasefire. I found it interesting, Rob, for those people who are not in Gaza to understand that when we get aid, you would see time and again community members give it to someone else, sharing and so on. Gaza may not be a rich place economically, but it's so rich in its culture and its society. That society is under attack, and we have pleaded for those with any influence to ensure this does not happen again, and yet here we are. It would seem to UNICEF that inaction from those with influence at its core is to approve again the killing of children here in Gaza.
James, what's your understanding of the availability of aid supplies now that the ceasefire is over? Has anybody said anything to you about whether or not they will end?
It's going to be very difficult, Rob, I have to say. I mean, there'll be people working around the clock as we speak in another area here in the south working that exactly thing out. We had convoys across the UN plan. I know UNRWA was getting fuel. Fuel is water. Fuel is those desalination plants. Of course, the United Nations was able to pre-position aid, so important to get it in through the Rafah Gate, get it ready for those hundreds of thousands of people who so desperately need it. So we've got much more in the next 7 days. That's Herculean effort by people here, Herculean effort by Palestinians who work for the United Nations, Rob, who have lost homes and family members and still every day come in to try and support their fellow citizens. But again, this was never going to be enough. If this was the idea, we'd be allowed aid for 7 days, and then the killing would start again. Then humanity has shut its eyes. Now, we cannot believe that is the case, and we will continue to persevere. But under these conditions, with attacks so close, as I say, to this functioning hospital, as a Palestinian colleague said, our nightmare just got that much more difficult.
Describe to us the kind of psychological toll that this must be happening on the medical teams and the people who are working for the UN right now, and indeed, of course, have been doing so for the last several weeks.
If I can start, Rob, I start with just with children. I've been coming here every day for a week, and there are now children I know by name, teaching a few kids to juggle, something to break the moment, to break the spell of what they're under. And you can see gently, we can hear explosions again now. You can see the gentle change as they loosen, as that bit of childhood seeps back into them. That was gone again today. The fear, the trauma, the look in little boys and girls' eyes as they see and they notice that look of their parents, that their parents are losing control. Their parents may not have the ability to protect them. That's terrifying. I sat again with a little boy I've been seeing, Rob. Ahmed, he's 3, he's lost his leg. He's not speaking again. He's absolutely mute. He can hear the sounds here. But yes, of course, the medical staff here, what to say? They're phenomenal. They never stop. I'm sure they never will stop. But the health system, as WHO says time and again, despite WHO's incredible efforts, it's exhausted. You know, you cannot possibly, in all good conscience, start attacking the people of Gaza again and think that you will not have a massacre on your hands. So the health staff will keep going. My United Nations colleagues, they don't stop. They go to the front lines because in their heart they believe they can make a difference. And in the worst times, the most difficult times, is when they come to the fore. But they too have families. They too have children and loved ones who will be terrified right now as they too are near the front lines. Everyone does what they can, yet it seems the only people who can make a decision are not doing what they should.
James, if you and the team there need to get to safety, and of course anybody around you as well as those attacks continue, please do so. Please just stop and get to safety as fast as you can. In the meantime, just very quickly, can you talk to us about what you're hearing, the explosions that you were describing to us just a moment ago? Can you just talk to us about the sounds that you're hearing and how close they might be to where you are?
Yes, I can. I have no military expertise, Rob, just seen too much of this. So the first thing you notice is the sound, but simultaneously, Rob, you just see in my peripheral vision or early when there are attacks, you just see people shudder, particularly children. You just see that reflex action that is becoming learned behaviour of fear seeping in. So, you know, it's a sound first, and there's drones, and I'm still unable to differentiate between what flies over and what strikes. And then it's plumes of smoke. If it's close, then you hear very quickly, within a couple of minutes, screams, I guess, of family members of loved ones as they see the reality of another person killed. And look, it's kind of you, of course, we would move, but as we've heard time and again, nowhere is safe in Gaza. The people in Shifa saw this. I cannot imagine. That's the sound. I cannot
James,
imagine.
if you need and the team need to get to safety, do so.
To this hospital. Of course, we don't know what safety looks like. There are hundreds of children, Rob, in this hospital who don't know what safety looks like. The medical staff, there is no bunker here. It's not the Ukraine. No one knows what safety looks like. They know what fear looks like. They know what death looks like. And we pray that those who have the influence to stop this, to end the trauma and end the killing, also understand what their fear and what death for the children of Gaza looks like.
James Elder is UNICEF's global spokesperson. He's been talking to us from Gaza during those attacks. James, thank you very much indeed.
Today in Gaza, just hours into the pause, I think I saw more sorrow than perhaps any other day in my life. It's like fear and sadness have taken root in everything. I know it's a relatively positive day, finally some proper quantities of aid coming in and the hostages are going home. It's just that today I didn't speak to a single person who hasn't lost a loved one. The boy whose mother and father and twin brother